Alrighty, any little ahas in the break, anything that I noticed you're all kind of networking and chatting and stuff as well, which is fantastic. I love these kind of opportunities where you can actually get to know people that are in your industry and being able to kind of talk about stuff that people understand. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah, just want to share an aha because with my story I shared something that I've not shared before. So for me what it's done is, even though I know I've healed through most, what has happened and things like that, you talk about the cells and things opening. Well, obviously, for me, I feel things are opening because there's this emotional part that's starting to come through in a few little dark moments, in a good way. I don't mean that in a negative way at all, where I feel like I'm even more so now on the path of what it is I am meant to share, because it is something that I've kept very close to myself. So that's been a bit of an aha moment for me now. And I've got to stop because I'm getting emotional.
I understand, but just breathe through that and allow the emotion to be there. One of the hardest things for a healer to do is to be vulnerable. Yet we're asking our patients and our clients to be vulnerable all the time, aren't we? And it's often very, very hard for us to step into our vulnerability. And many of us actually think the vulnerability, or we may not think it consciously because we know as a therapist and we know all of the theory, we know that it's actually helping us heal, it's helping us grow stronger, it's helping us do all those things. But if we've got this programming from past about vulnerability being weak, or vulnerability being, good girls don't cry, or boys don't do this, or if we've got that kind of programming, then no matter how good a healer we are, when it comes to our own stuff, it's still there, and those patterns are still there until we can deal with it. And so, one of the greatest things that I had to experience in order to kind of make the shift from the wounded girl who used to always sabotage herself, who used to always be in hospital, who used to always be on her deathbed, to the strong, capable, powerful individual that I've become, is when I actually allowed myself for the first time in my life to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability, it killed me. It nearly killed me in that moment. I literally, before I actually asked the question of the person I was asking help from, I literally sobbed for hours in my room before I found the courage to ask that question. And when I asked that question, my life changed because I'd allowed myself to be a human with flaws, that I didn't have to be perfect, that I didn't have to always get it right. And that vulnerability gave me the strength to be this, that gave me the strength to have the courage to get up and go, you know what, I do have a story that I've learned from. I do have experience that I want to share. I do have the ability to help people. And if you can get just an ounce of that freedom to allow yourself to embrace that vulnerability in yourself, it makes all the difference in the story and the connections. I know here that a lot of you have said to me that there's something about this workshop, it just feels different to a lot of workshops you've been to, that there's a connection immediately. It happened quite quickly in the day, on day one. And it's because we allow ourselves into a space where I've already allowed myself to be vulnerable and to admit that, I'm not perfect, I'm very flawed, and I've had so many flaws that, I nearly killed myself doing it. But I can still find the vulnerability to relate to everyone's story. I can find the vulnerability to be okay with that. And as somebody, if one of your visions for what you're doing, for writing a book and producing a course, is to do the kind of work that I do up here, then having the ability to be vulnerable with your audience and having the ability from authenticity. Yeah, I've seen a lot of presenters do the vulnerable thing, but you can feel it, can't you, from the audience? It's not. And so you've got to learn to be able to be soft. You've got to learn to be able to be safe with your audience. You've got to learn to be able to be safe with your truth as well. So thank you for sharing that. It's really important. And I know I've had a lot of you come up to me and say very similarly that something has happened that is really opening those cells. And I just want you to trust the process. It doesn't actually have to have an answer right now. Just trust the process. And you will be a better person Not that you're not an amazing person right now, but a better person who's able to connect even more than you currently have been. And it will mean all the difference if you decide to do things like this. Deal? Out of interest, who wants to be? I noticed a couple of you coming up in the break, standing up here going, I've just sold 1 million copies of my book, and you were getting somebody to video yourself. Feel free to do that as well, yeah? We do need the room in breaks, you know, for especially lunchtime, we need the room in breaks to kind of reset things. But in the afternoon break, if after you've done your video testimonials, if you're doing them, or after you've had something to eat, if you want to come up here, get a friend to video you and go, you know, my book just launched and I've sold 2,000 copies today, or I'm this or I've that, then do it and use that to actually help train your brain as well. So use the experience. So who wants to do stage work? Yeah, about 3/4 of. Oh, I've got some people going. Yes, ooh, maybe. Not sure. Own it. Yes, I want to do stage work. If you want to do it, if you don't, that's okay too. It's about understanding what is the kind of business you want to create, and there is no right or wrong. There is just what are the opportunities, and which of those opportunities do I want to step into? And that's pretty cool. And, you know, there's a couple of you in the room who've already expressed that you've always had this knowing, some of you for years, that you would be doing something like this or something bigger. Yeah? I said to somebody, I think I won't, that, and I did this and I related to it because I did it myself. It was a 30-year period where I wanted to do it. And sometimes I verbalized it and had the courage to do it, but sometimes I didn't, and it was just a secret desire. But 30 years of waiting. Yeah, and somebody in the room expressed that to me earlier today as well. 30 years of waiting. So whether it's just a new idea for you or whether it's been a 30-year wait too, when is the day? When is the time to say, you know what, enough is enough. I've had a nice play, but now I'm getting serious about being me, and it's going to be even more fun than I thought it was. Cool? Yep. So we're just going to brush briefly through this because a lot of it is about the book leading into the course because the branding is so connected. And then what we're going to do is flush straight back into full on with the course content, course kind of creation stuff. But I need to touch on the book stuff with it because the branding is so connected. So what we need to realize again is once you design the book cover, that you need to ensure that all of your other social media networks, your Facebook headers, your website headers, your course cover headers, all of it is kind of branded through that consistent theme. So the book cover is vital. If you are producing a course that is connected to your book, once the book cover has been kind of set in stone, that is the branding that's going to flow through to all of the other stuff. So getting that book cover right in your heart is really important, but also getting it right with your audience. And so I've got a couple of examples of book covers that I've done or book covers that some of my students have done where you show the evolution, where the first one you see isn't always the one that you might end up with, but it's important to put it out there to your audience to say, well, which one do you resonate with? Because you might love a cover that everyone else goes, well, that doesn't mean. And sometimes I even ask the question, what does this cover represent to you? So when they look at it, what does it mean to them? Get their interpretation of it. Because if it's completely off the promise of the book, you know you need to change the cover some way to get their perception of the promise the same as what's in the book. Because if they buy it and they perceive that it's going to give them this and it doesn't, what are they going to say to anyone that when they say, oh, what did you think of his book? Or what did you think of her book? And they'll go, oh, well, it didn't really deliver. Yeah, it did deliver. It just didn't deliver what they perceived from the cover. Yeah, that's why the promise of the title and the branding of the cover itself is really, really important that other people get. And when what they give back to you is what you intended, you know you've got the right cover. Ensure that the brand is relevant and appeals to that ideal reader, obviously, and when choosing, put it out to your friends, and when you're putting it out to your friends, I'm not talking your mum who's going to say, oh, it's good, darling. Yeah, I'm talking, ask your friends to be as honest as they can possibly be. What do they genuinely get from this cover? What does it tell them? What does it say to them? How does it, what do they think the book is about when they look at that and read that cover? You want them to be cruel to be kind if they have to, yeah? We need professional photos, and getting them early at that stage is really important, because not only will they be kind of interspersed in the book, perhaps on the back cover, maybe sometimes even on the front cover, but in your marketing and your branding as you start to build your course, then we need those photos to be flowing through with the same brand. So rather than digging up 20 different photos that you've got from your past, yeah, what I recommend is this is a whole new brand for you. You're becoming a course developer, an author, and you're becoming a digital marketer. So you want to have this fresh brand, this fresh look, and a variety of photos. We don't just want headshots. We don't just want standing still shots. If you notice on the bottom of my thingo here, we want action shots. We want things that we can actually use. You've got to think long term. When we think long term with our photos, so we've got variety of poses, action shots, the long term use for online, for digital, for the course, for the book, for your marketing material. I'll go through that in a minute, because you're going to need kind of book marketing and course marketing material, and making sure that you own the copyright of the book, of the images that you're going to use. If you're going to use them on the front cover of a book or on the back cover of a book or in a book, you need to let your photographer know that, because they need to decide whether they're willing to do that for you and what price that would be. Okay? The beautiful photographer who's taken all of my images for my complete new Mind Potential range is actually in the room today. Miss Annie Banani. That beautiful girl. Would you like to come up and talk about kind of the what to expect from a photo shoot for a book cover or a course cover kind of launch? Is there anything you can add to that?
Yeah, letting the photographer know at the start that you'll need copyright for use on website, book covers, promotions and things like that is really important, because a lot of photographers won't hand over the copyright, and you could be up for many thousands of dollars to get that copyright. So just ask up front. Take what represents you. So if you do a quit smoking campaign, take a pack of cigarettes that you can crunch and have photos taken with that. Maggie's got some amazing photos with boards that we can put messaging on.
I might try and see if I can get a few of them up. Like I actually got maybe, I don't know. We took about 3 outfits with us, so I had different looks to the actual shoot, and then we had some of me holding blank boards so that later on we can put wording on it, or we can put the name of the book on it. Some where I was holding up my hands, where later on we could put the book in the hands, all of those things. So yes, we put a brain in, and I'll show you, I've got that book cover to show you. I had a book cover for my Money and You course done, and we put a gold brain in my hands with one of those photos. So be creative with the kind of photos that you're going to take. Different positions, standing, sitting, full body headshots, torso shots, and lots of kind of strength in your poses and action, showing that you are a powerful person presenting this. So there's strength in the spine, and if you've got a great photographer that can help bring that confidence out in you as well. Speaking of which, our beautiful Annie Banani trains photographers all over Australia, all over the world actually, and she's trained more than 1,000 now in the kind of posing and stuff that we're talking about. So wherever you are in the country, you've probably got a recommendation of someone you could send to.
Where's Annie work out of?
Annie's in Victoria, but she's got, like, we've got a couple up here in Brisbane, yeah, that have trained with you. There's some further over, there's Sydney, there's everywhere. So if you are in need and you resonate with the kind of images I've done, because it's the styling that we're looking for, then definitely she can at least put you in touch with somebody. Anything else you think you can add to?
Just to have a really good range of expressions. So you need confidence, you need friendly. If you look timid or shy or embarrassed, that shows in your photos. So you really need to be thinking throughout your photo shoot something naughty or something funny. Because there's nothing worse than, the lights are on but there's nobody home. And that little smile that happens just before the big open mouth smile always starts in the eyes. So, and a lot of photographers, that's the trick that they don't know, is how to communicate to get that look. So if you find that your photographer's not communicating that, to get that special little smile, just think to yourself, what would Annie say? And I would say, think of the last naughty thing you did. And yeah.
Look at you all actually just went secretly, and that's kind of that, and it happens in the eyes. I saw it in my photo shoot. I saw the ones where she hadn't said it, and I saw the ones where she had, or something else that she would include, and you could see just this glint in the eye. So from the viewer's perspective, you just feel a sense of joy when you look at the photograph. They don't know that you were thinking the last naughty thing you did.
And don't share it with your photographer.
No. They don't need to know. Fabulous, fabulous. So yes, very important to let them know exactly what Annie said, that what the purpose of these photos are for. Because if they don't know that, and then you start sharing these photos on book covers and on commercial product, then they could actually come back to you with a rather hefty little bill.
Hefty.
Yeah.
Some photographers will charge you to use them for the next 12 months. 2 years, 3 years only online rather than print or print only. So some get very specific. Find another photographer.
Yeah.
You want free use of your image, pay a little bit more, get the copyright, and have no bans on them at all.
Yeah. And think also about longevity. You want these photos to at least last, maybe 5-6 years until, I don't know, you change your hair completely or go bald or whatever it is. So you need to think about the kind of clothes that you choose as well. So if something is very, very fashionable right now, don't use it. Yeah, if it's very obvious of the moment, don't use it. We need classic looks. We need, lines and colours that pop. A lot of white background photographs are great because in graphic design work they can be adaptable and used for lots of stuff. So think about the colours that would pop against white backgrounds or light backgrounds and things, and always just a little bit of a splash of colour. I do have a lot of white jackets in mine against the white back, but they have those black buttons or those black bows that splash, that bring, does that make sense? You think seriously about the outfit, about how does it pop? How does it pop off the screen? And I got them in, I don't know whether your photographers do that for them, I got them in high res. You need them in high res because if you've got to put them on a book cover, they have to be high res. And then Annie provided them for me in low res as well for my online stuff because you don't need them as a high res if you're putting them on your website or putting them in your online courses. So I got the duplicates, high res and low res.
And you need them to be edited. As much as we love to look natural, a high res printed on a book cover will show every pore. Like our cameras are that good these days, so you want someone who does a beautiful edit as well.
If you come up really closely and you see me bigger than life size, you see everything, guys. You see everything. So be prepared for that. So you do need somebody who can do some good editing. That's natural, yeah? I didn't want to look photoshopped. I wanted to have the natural look. But it is. It's still showing my lines. It's still showing my wrinkles. It's showing me as I am. But it is just softer and the pores are less, because on that kind of high res you will see all pores, you will see everything. And if you're going to do something big like this for your banners for stage, if you're going to do book covers where it's gloss book and then you haven't got the good editing done, it'll all show and can be the difference of a good cover and a poor cover. Cool? So now that we've frightened the living daylights out of you about photography, it can be the best experience. If you really go into that photo shoot, Colin and Wendy just did it recently. I'll go through their case study in a moment. They actually just did it about 3 weeks ago and they were so nervous. Oh my God, they were so nervous. They'd been using a photo on all of their stuff, one photo on all of their stuff that they'd taken of themselves in 1970. And it was on everything. It was on their website, it was on their ebook covers, it was absolutely, and I said to them, guys, just saying, if I am going to work for you and help you build an online course, I think we need to get new photos. Oh, really? 1970 was a little bit long ago. Just kind of the shirt is a little bit out of date, perhaps. You look like you're 17. So we just had a photo shoot with them up north, and they're just beautiful. Oh my God! So, and they got about, I think they got about 300 samples to choose, and they had to choose the top 30 that they wanted. And so they just got me to help them choose which poses, which ones were going to look, be more useful in the future, where they could, you've got to think long term, if you're going to produce more than one course or more than one book, etc., how can you make them adapt? So different outfits can mean you can have a whole different book with the same kind of branding. Does that make sense? So you're not having to go to the expense all the time, every time you do some new product. Alrighty, the book trailer. Has anyone ever thought about a book trailer? A book trailer is a video promotion tool, basically, for your book. So I'm going to show you my Unleashed one right now.
Why do you sabotage your dreams by procrastinating or believing in your inner critic? Why do you still feel like a fraud despite the things you have achieved in life? How do you overcome the fear of failure if there's also a subconscious fear of success? Black Card Books present Unleashed by Maggie Wilde. This book helps you get what you really want by rewiring your mind and eliminating doubt and sabotage. It is the ultimate guidebook to you. Discover how to get out of your own way to unleash your potential. Unleashed by Maggie Wilde. Grab your copy now.
That's a book trailer. I was trying to find my Unzip one because I wanted to show you the difference, because I made my Unzip one myself. It's still lovely. It's absolutely still lovely, and it's really good. But you can see the difference.
So you had that one professionally done?
Yes, I had that one professionally done. Well, because that book was published by a traditional publisher. Remember I said with that particular book I'd done most of my stuff with self-publishing, and I wanted to try the difference between a self-publisher and a traditional publisher. And so I was asked to, when they saw my Unzip book and they saw how successful it was, they wanted to publish my book as well. They wanted an American accent. Remember, when a traditional publisher does your work for you, you lose a lot of your rights to your book. Yeah, so you don't get to choose the cover. They make recommendations. You don't get to choose certain things. So they insisted on having an American voice. And I said no. They said they didn't want an Australian voice because it wouldn't have commercial appeal overseas. And I said, well, I'm not having an American voice. So they compromised by having an English one because I have a slight English lilt. So that was the closest to resonating with me. But that was a fight. I had to get that. So the difference between self-publishing and a traditional publisher is you have to actually really let go of some of your attachments to the way things you think should be done if you have a particular way of wanting your book to be. My friend Mary Lou Stevens, who she's retired now, but very well known, worked for the ABC and did a lot of morning show radios on ABC National and also ABC Local. And she's an author. She did a book with Allen and Unwin, and she wanted it to be called Sex, Drugs and Meditation, because it was about her role as a rock and roller in the 70s and 80s. She was in band. She was part of quite a well-known female band in that time, and was addicted to heroin, addicted to lots of stuff. And then when she got over heroin, she moved to kind of sugar and food. And so the addictive processes went through her whole life. And she used meditation as her tool to overcome addiction. And so she wanted to call her book Sex, Drugs and Meditation. Well, they had it as Party Girl Gets Better. Like, that's how enthusiastic it was. It was it wasn't that, but it was just, there was no life in the title at all. And she actually nearly pulled her contract. She was and she couldn't get out of the contract. So in the end, they did a draft of it the first way, and they did a test pilot run with it with a test group, and the test group just went blah. And so they succumbed and eventually went back to her original title. But it took a year. The book was delayed by a year because of that argument. So with traditional publishing, there are some amazing benefits. If you are a well-known author, honestly, they will bend over backwards to make things happen. If you're a newcomer, you're a risk to them. So they don't give you a lot of leeway. They don't give you a lot of ways to kind of have your viewpoint, your point of view in it. And so even choosing your literary agent, you're supposed to have an agent and things to get into traditional publishing. They'll kind of tell you who you should go with and who's going to... So,
sorry, I just wanted to ask, where would
Yes.
you show that video? Where would you...
you use it on your social media, you use it on your website, you use it in any marketing. You can send it to TV. If you're doing press releases, you send it to them. It becomes your marketing business card for online. So anything that's going to be shown online, they will often play. If you get a TV gig, they have what's called B-rolls. So they'll do the interview with you, but they want you to present options for B-rolls that they can cut away to, because TV is such a visual element. So they just don't want somebody sitting there being boringly interviewed. They want to be able to cut away to you walking in the park or other images that show you doing something. And often they'll cut away to your book trailer and things as well. So it's very much used online for online press releases, as well as for sending it to all of the media that you send it to as well. Always on the front page of your website for that particular product. If you're doing a course with it, then you might want to go, well, do I want to wait to do my book trailer as a book and course trailer as well? That's something to consider as well. If you've already got your course idea set and you know you're going to be doing it, then you might be wanting to thinking about producing a book trailer that actually does both. A long time since I've seen that. It kind of made me quite emotional. I was like, oh. Sorry, somebody asked a question. What was it? No, it was done in ScreenFlow. And then we kind of put the music. I chose the music. I just researched royalty-free music, and I bought music that I had commercial use for. And then we put the ScreenFlow up, and we did screen, and we went from one to the other. So we had a slide, a PowerPoint slide, if you like, which was just the wording, and then he would put, also, and I sat with the editor and we kind of made it together and decided how it would work. But for a first attempt for a book trailer, I think I did quite well. I actually studied other book trailers first. I went and watched as many book trailers as I could find and studied kind of the flow and things. And then when the publisher with the Unleashed book said they wanted to do a book trailer for me, then we had a little bit of argument about the voiceover, and then they produced that for me on as a professional one.
I like yours better than theirs.
Do you?
Yeah, theirs is too much Shutterstock images of people and stuff. I'm not even connected to it.
Okay, that's interesting. See? People's opinion is what matters. True? Alrighty, so the marketing collateral, where you need to use those images we've talked about. we need to be looking obviously at a speaker bio. And anytime anyone asks you to send a speaker bio, and you're going to need a bio for the back of your book anyway, and your course, they always, 99.9% of the time, also ask for your bio photograph as well. So you send a bio, and then you need to send a JPEG image to them for whatever it is they're going to do to promote your presentation. And so the kind of photos that you get done for this book are going to be needed to use for things like that as well. There's a media kit that comes with your book and that you might be sending out to all the media with your press releases, and that will need images through it. It'll need the kind of, so they're the kind of, that's the kind of reason why you need a variety of photos in your photo shoots. An order form, you can have a pre-order form. You can actually start selling your book before the book comes out. So I normally use the same branding with a pre-order form, and it just has a place for credit cards. So you might be doing talks or presentations, and you hand out your pre-order forms. You say, I'm the author of the upcoming book XYZ. If you'd like to pre-order, you get postage free. Or if you'd like to pre-order, you'll get a half-hour consult with me, or whatever it is. If you think you can, with a half-hour consult, you might be able to then offer them your services in your clinic, or whatever it is that you want to do. But that pre-order form needs to be all branded the same and ready before even your book comes out. Some people like to get bookmarks, fridge magnets, all of those kind of things. They're all usually within a package, and you just pay, you kind of click through the package of what you want and what you don't want, etc. The absolute must-dos I would do is to ensure you've got enough photos and variety. For your media kit is a definite must-do. Your order forms are a definite must-do, and I think your bookmarks are as well, because I usually try and get those in the book. Everyone who buys a book gets it. I've run out, so the ones you bought today don't have them, sorry. I think you've got my business card as a bookmark. And for banner presentations as well, obviously, if you're going to be doing stage work, you need a variety. You'll notice I actually have 4 here today. You know, you'd think for a small presentation like this to have 4, but I've branded outside so you know exactly when you walk up the stairs that this is where you're going. And then it's branded inside with a slightly different image. Yep. And those banners are quite cheap. I think it cost me $400 for 4 from Officeworks. And I paid an extra $20 or something because I had to adjust the image very slightly. But consistency is the key. That's the kind of message I really want to get across to you there with all of this. Consistency with everything. Everything you kind of start to plan for your book has to follow through to that course if that course is connected. This is an idea of kind of the evolution of book covers. So, you know, it's not always the first one that you see that ends up happening. So even the colour changed for mine until the final cover. So obviously this is the final cover we went with, but we had a whole kind of evolution of things. A lot of the designers were coming back to me with generic weight loss images that are just everywhere. So I actually paid extra to get this image. This image is copyrighted by me and I own the copyrights to it. Nobody else owns this image of the woman unzipping. So I actually paid for somebody to actually produce that image so that it's unique to the Unzip brand. Okay, and that was worthwhile because that, I believe, won me the award. And that's the book that actually got an award for the best cover. So, and it stands out, that's why it ended up on the New York Book Fair, because of the cover award. I think I did 99 designs. I didn't pay him $99. I paid him quite a lot of money, but because I wanted a unique image. This is the Money and You one that we were talking about. That's kind of the evolution of the book cover that as it happened. And then you can see one of the photos Annie took for me in the actual program was a photo where my hand was out and we just placed the golden brain in that, representing wealth, brain training to change your mindset around money. Does that make sense?
We're going to get it online.
The online course is there, yes. It's a 12-module online course that's, I think it's drip-fed, so you get 1 module per. I'm going to talk about that later on this afternoon when I talk. I did it as a beta group. I did it as a live webinar series. Sold it as a beta group, so people paid. I think we had about, I can't remember, 58 people or something who paid money to, knowing full well that it was the test course, that it hadn't been done before, that it was the bait. It was going to eventually retail at $5.99. They were getting it for $199 or something. So they knew that it was a test run. They knew that it would be recorded. Some of their voices might end up on, if they were talking on because I did it as an interactive webinar as well. So if they were talking on it, some of their case studies might end up on the course. And so they signed away all of that, knew what they were up for. And it was phenomenal. By the time I launched the course properly, we ended up with about, I think it was about 40 different testimonials already, because that was part of the package. They got it at that price as long as they provided a testimonial for me after the beta group finished. And so before we even launched the course formally, we had, at least 10 or 20 video testimonials and hundreds of written testimonials that people had given me throughout the 12 weeks, where they'd gone, oh my God, this happened to me today and I didn't even realize, I didn't realize that it was an extra $1,000 that I manifested here, or this happened here and I got this. And all of those testimonials came in through that beta trial group, which was amazing. So I got paid to produce a course and paid for other people to give me testimonials. Is that clever? It's pretty cool. So yes, this is the only thing I do have as an online course that doesn't currently have a book with it, because I've just been so overwhelmed with the busyness of getting that. So I haven't actually done the book as yet, and haven't found the right person to outsource. This is another book of mine that is about to come out early next year, and it went through a kind of a variety of different book cover styles and formats and things as well, okay? Even Dr. Olga's went through a complete transformation. You can see her original book idea for the cover, totally different to the one she ended up with, isn't it? You can't even compare. Who likes the left one?
It's like 50 Shades, isn't it?
I wanted to point that out, and I used this particularly because one of the things you can do with book covers is actually, if you think your book is aligned to the kind of style but you have a unique message of another book, then using an existing successful style of a book cover, not that this book was aligned to that style, but we used it as an example. If a book cover has been incredibly successful and gone global, often subliminally, if you produce a book cover that ties it in somehow to that look, then the subconscious programming is that this book is successful. Yeah. So those of you that recognize it immediately, it does have shades of grey kind of, and yeah. And so she presented that to us as her first idea, and we kind of went, I love it. If you were writing a sex novel for mature people, but for widows, I think it is not quite right yet. Yes. And so we went with something very clean, very modern. We just researched the most modern fonts. Our graphic designer that works with me helped us get the most modern fonts that were fresh. And we decided on this final cover and just the rose petals, because that was her symbol for what she did with her husband. Their thing was red roses, and he used to place red rose petals on her pillow. And so she used that as an example, and that flows through inside the book as well.
The white covers,
Yep.
there's a lot of white covers. Is that like something that's standard, like a good thing to do, or does it matter that it's colour? I know your other one isn't,
Yep.
but yeah, we just noticed that there's more white covered.
No, not always. It depends on the genre, and it depends on the competition in that genre. So I always, if I'm writing a book in a particular topic, I will actually go and research all the other book covers in that topic, and I want to stand out. So if there's lots of orange covers in that topic, I want to stand out from them, don't I? Unless there's been one like Chicken Soup for the Soul that's just sold billions, then I want to be like it. Okay? So it depends on, I do the research on the actual covers in my immediate competition. And I want to stand out from it. So we researched a lot of grief books, and they were very somber covers, yeah? So we knew this had to be really fresh. It had to kind of hint at feeling a newness and a freshness to it. So consistent branding, that's the kind of message through all of that, is once you kind of set your idea on the first layer of the branding, you've got to then flow that through consistently. So love it. Yeah, but first of all, put it out to other people to make sure they love it and get the same principle, the same idea, the same outcome in their mind. Their perception is the same as yours. And when that is, you know you're on the winner. Okay? So what we want to do is look at the benefits to you and the benefits to your student. And one of the key things with online courses is that it is actually a lower cost for you to deliver. To run workshops and seminars, for years I used to be on the workshop tour, and all of my Unzip courses, both for public and for the practitioners, were all on a workshop tour. So for a period of about 3 years, I was hardly home. And you know, it sounds glamorous to be in Los Angeles doing a workshop, or to be in Melbourne next week, or to be, and I remember posting on Facebook one week that within a period of 6 weeks, I'd been in 5 different states and 2 different countries. And I don't think I'd ever actually unpacked when I got home in between. I'd be home for 2 days and I'd be packing and washing and ready to go again. And, you know, it was a wonderful, glamorous kind of sound, but in the reality, after a period of time, you miss home. I missed my own bed. I missed things that, you know, my own comforts and things as well. And so that was one of those stages where I realized kind of the monster I designed, and I had to tweak I was doing the not to many, I was not working as I was leveraging my time. It was fabulous, but I had to tweak it again and go, it's still not enough. I still have to make this more online because I'm still exhausted. I'm still missing home. I'm still not getting the lifestyle I want. Okay? But it's also expensive. You have travel to each venue, you have accommodation, you have the venue hire, the venue catering. It becomes very expensive. So your prices have to change when you're doing your workshops and things if you're doing them face to face. And so with online training, it's a much, much lower cost for you to produce. And of course, once you've produced it once, it's a one-off cost. And then you earn from it ongoing. Whereas with a workshop, it's a one-off cost every time you do it. So it could cost you $8,000 to put on a workshop with catering and all these kind of things for a couple of days. So you have to kind of weigh that into the matter. And that's why for me, online was the solution, not only for my health, but also for my bank balance as well. I remember at one year, I'd done, I don't know how many workshops, and I'd barely made a profit at the end of the year because of just the expenses and the outgoings that workshop tour cost me. Yeah. But I had a ball, travelled so many different places and had a fantastic time. And a lot of the time I was able to take Michael with me, which was just wonderful if he could get the time off work. But there are so many downsides to it as well. So again, there's no right or wrong. You've got to decide for yourself what kind of lifestyle you want and what kind of business you want to create. And if that means you just decide you want to do one workshop a month, yeah, so you're only traveling once a month, or you want to do it all the time because you love it. Like Katina, her goal was the travel. She just wants to travel all the time at the moment. Her kids are grown up, she doesn't have the responsibilities anymore, and she wants to get out there. So it depends on you. It will be very, very unique for you. It's obviously a lower cost to build than a workshop, and you can use all the techniques and tools that you've currently got. You can use your iPhones, you can use all your smartphones and things to do lots of your recording. There's so many resources you already have, which mean the costs are quite low. Once it's built, obviously, you continue earning for life on it until you decide to shut that course down, if you decide to shut it down. But it will continue. Once it's active, it will continue to earn as long as you're sending people to it. You still got to do the marketing to get people to it. It doesn't just magically get bums on seats. You do have to do the marketing. Lower cost is then passed on to the learner. So where I might have had to charge, $5,000 or $2,000 for a 5-day workshop, I can now, do a course online and sell it for $199 or $299, the same course that I might have been teaching. Does that make sense? Also, a variety of platforms to suit your needs as well, and we'll go through some of those very, very shortly. So it means that you can actually find a platform that suits the kind of course that you want to create and suits the kind of delivery that you need as well. There's so much variety out there. We're living an amazing time for being a therapreneur. We're living in a really amazing time where we can actually access all of this technology that just allows us the freedom for a lifestyle business. Learning styles can be met. You know, when we're in a workshop, it's often difficult to remember to reach out to the people who are auditory and reach out to the people that are visual, reach out to the people that learn kinesthetically. It's often harder to do that. But online, as you're devising the course and the course content, then you're consciously aware and you've got the time to think about, if there's an auditory person in the room, maybe they need the download audio of this. If there's a visual person, we need charts and we also need the video. If there's somebody who's kinesthetic, we need to pause the video. So we might be actually describing a technique and then we say, I'm going to get you to stop right now, pause the video and do that exercise for me right now. So they experience it as well. Does that make sense? So you can cater for all the different types of learning abilities and do live and record it as well. There's a potentially for a variety of courses. It's completely unlimited what you can do with online now. There's no restrictions, on intakes. You can take as many people, as long as you've got the right platform. There's a caveat to that. There are platforms that charge you for the amount of students you have. So there's some platforms that will charge you so many dollars a month. So let's say $200 a month for up to 200 students. And the minute you go over that, you've got to bump up to the next level and all of a sudden you're paying $500 a month. Yeah. So ensure that you're getting a platform that has unlimited students, as well as if it comes with a database. CRM is the customer relationship management system. So it's where you store your database and where you send emails out and where you're communicating to your list. A lot of course platforms have CRMs on them. And so they come as a kind of a one-fits-all. So you can actually, some of them will have restrictions on how many on your list you can have. So it might say you can only have 2,000 people on your list, but you might want to build a list of 50,000 people. And that could end up costing you thousands of dollars a month if you haven't bought the right platform. So there's just things you need to be aware of and read the fine print when you're signing up for it. It means you can also earn an income and impact people while you're on holiday, while you're in bed asleep. Somebody's learning from your techniques and your skills. And that's pretty cool. And your message impacts has potential to reach a global audience. It's no longer, when you're working in a local practice, it's really people within that kind of 100-kilometre radius. Yeah, and most people are really, it's that 10-kilometre radius. So with online courses, you can reach anyone in the world, absolutely anyone in the world. Once it's set up, it requires less of your time. And of course, I don't want you to be under any pretense. It is going to take time to set it up. You have to be aware of that. It takes the time and the commitment. But once it's set up, your lifestyle changes. Look, this is for the learner. Obviously, they get a lower cost passed on to them. They can choose time. They're able to focus on the course anytime they want. It's 24/7. They've got their own access to it, so they're not restricted. I get a lot of people who are, a big market of mine are night shift nurses. Yeah, so I've got a nurse administratives. And they work really bizarre shifts. And so a lot of my clients with my end user products actually use my courses online. And I can go into my back end of my platforms in the morning and see that, 50 of my students have been in line overnight. And it's exciting. While I was sleeping, somebody was learning my stuff. Like, how cool is that? It feels fantastic. It's also self-paced. They can do it at their own pace. And a caveat to that, I always try and put things in my courses that keep them moving, because if you give a lot of people a lot of leeway, they do it at their own pace, which means 5 years and they haven't opened the course more than once. Yeah, but I do have incentives throughout my courses to help them keep doing the course, and bonuses along the way that only open up after they've finished certain modules, all of those sorts of things. Learner can be heard if there's a platform that they can interact with as well. So you can offer forums with your online courses. You can offer Facebook closed groups for paid members where there can be interaction if you choose. Yeah, that's again your lifestyle choices. You have to decide if that's the kind of course you want to create. There's a variety of learning styles that you can meet, and low-cost videos and audios and all those sorts of things that can be produced nowadays. Much more cost-effective than even when I first started. It cost me tens of thousands to produce my first course because I didn't know the questions to ask, and things were more expensive then, and there wasn't as much choice in technology and things. So it has changed quite dramatically. The learner can learn from anywhere, anytime, any location, and you can even translate it into other, if you speak two languages and you want to do your course in English and you want to do your course in Italian or French or whatever, you can do that as well. And just market it to, same course, just market it to 2 different countries. How cool is that? Try and do a workshop like that. You've got to travel to Italy to do it or travel to France to do it. And the learner can go back and use it again and again as time. If you decide they have lifetime access to it, and again, that's your choice as well. Are they just buying it for a period of time, or do they have lifetime access? And that's all stuff based on the course you're producing that you decide before you start. And there's obviously no restrictions on intake, as many students as you want, as long as you're on the right platform. Online courses have actually been around, apparently, I did some research, apparently since like the 1700s, people were learning, not online, but distance learning. People were doing distance learning even way back then. So it's actually started to become, in this last kind of 20, 30 years, really ingrained. I remember doing a distance learning counselling degree, or counselling diploma years ago. And everyone was like, oh my God, you're studying online, oh my God, like, And now, you go to university online, like all of the universities, the national and the international universities have all of their courses online. How amazing is that? It's just absolutely, it's changed phenomenally since the 90s, and especially since the internet speeds have really picked up. It's much easier to study online, and it's much more fun as well. Who's bought an online course before? Well, it's probably better to ask who's not bought one. No one in the room. Do you get that? So everyone in the room has bought an online course. The market is huge. I've got some stats on it actually. It's predicted to grow annually by 20% every year, and probably they were the stats at the end of last year. The new survey's not out till the end of this year, and I would say it's even faster than that now. The stats I'm referring to are here. This was up until 2017. The new stats are out later this year. They do a survey quite regularly of about 800 to 1,000 course developers. And those course developers give them the stats on the course numbers, who's buying, how many course members they have, the growth in the industry, the pricing. They also give them feedback on what are the hot prices at the moment, all of that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that later. But they're the figures from 2012. So it was worth $5.3 billion in 2012. By 2017, it's $12.2 billion. Right now, it's probably another 20 to 25% more than that as well. I just don't have those current stats right now. But the growth is astronomical. And maybe you just want 1,000 members paying you $1,000 for now. Maybe that, and there's just 1,000 out of that 12 billion. That's pretty cool. You just got to find them. Yep. So what does that mean for you? The population has come to accept, it has come to accept that online education is a valid choice. And it's actually, for most of it, a desired choice. You know what? In marketing this program, I had so many registrations. And out of the so many registrations I had at least 500 or 600 other people saying, can't you do it for me online? What am I going to do? I'm listening to my audience and I'm going to put this online, aren't I? Yeah? Because I'm listening to my audience. My audience says, I don't want to spend 3 days coming to a workshop. Which is a pity, because I believe the experience that we're going through right now can be enhanced by being in the room, and your healing is going to enhance the person around you, and it becomes an energetic thing. But you know, the majority of people, it's convenience and it's truth. So I've got to listen to that market and go, well, I do have to produce some form of this program as an online course. So same thing with books. There's lots. How many books have you got on your shelf you haven't read? And she's saying, how many courses have you got in your inbox that you haven't finished or even started? I've got at least a dozen I haven't even started yet. I know I'll get around to them someday. That's what I keep telling myself. But who's got that? Who's got courses that they've bought and they're in their inbox and they haven't finished them? Yeah. Any that you haven't started yet? Yeah, absolutely. I'm guilty. So it's that same process. And that's why I try and get as many incentives as I possibly can in my courses to entice people to get them finished. Because the stats are, from this statistician group that do the work, that those that actually finish the course, if you have 50 people who buy your course and 10 of them finish them and 40 don't, the 10 become ongoing lifetime customers and their lifetime value escalates astronomically to your business. These guys don't normally buy anything else from you. So do you think there should be some big incentives in your course to get them finished? Hell yeah. Yeah. So I normally, every couple of modules, I normally offer a bonus. This, you know, when you come back to do module 7, the bonus of blah, blah, blah will open up for you. It's only available when you finish module 6. Yep. And so you have the course program to open up that possibility. So it entices them to come back. And then you can also have competitive things on there as well, where they can measure how well they're doing. There's nothing, but some people are really self-competitive. So if you've actually you've finished 72%, 73%, you're giving them little comments along the way, sending them emails. It's all pre-programmed and automated in, saying, I'm so proud of you. You've 72% complete. This is so exciting. Just a little bit more. Do you realize there's only 3 more hours left that you could do any time to complete this course, and you'll be at 100%? And you're giving them the encouragement to get that finished, because it is more likely that they will be your ongoing customer as well. But you want them to have the transformation, don't you?